Welcome to the conversation part of the Upward podcast. We have recurring guests. He's one of the hosts of Fan University Show that airs on from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. every Saturday morning during the college football season on 105.3 The Fan in Dallas, Texas. He's the video coordinator for the Fan in Dallas and also for Bet Nation for the Bet MGM network, which airs on Sundays during non-football seasons. He has a Substack called Musings on Music, where he shares his thoughts on music, reviews, and so much more, including concerts, new records, anywhere he goes see the live music. I'd like to welcome back to the show our college football guy, I like to say, Carter Freemon. Welcome back to the Upper Bowl podcast. And I got to say, what would you do if all this buyout money, like $53 million for Brian Kelly, I got to ask for you to start?
Oh my gosh. I mean, if you're watching the video, you can see behind me, I have quite the record collection. I think we would just maybe quintuple the size of it. I think I'd probably start there if I just kind of want to burn some money. Records will eat through those pretty fast.
I think for me, I will say maybe classic cars, like an old IROC Z Camaro. I'll go with that. I will go with some records. I will go with not to go gamble with the FBI, like the poker schemes that are going on in the NBA. I would not use that.
We can steer clear of those.
We can steer clear of those. Maybe I'll upgrade a new computer system because I could use a new one for around here anyways. And maybe I don't know, maybe a few houses anyways and few good places near college football campuses. How about that?
What do you think Brian Kelly's going to do with all that money though? Because he's out of a job now.
He is out of a job. I think I'm amazed none of these coaches have not bought a private jet company or like invested in a private jet company. So he has like planes on the go anyways. I think that'll be kind of cool to have instead of asking the university all the time. Let me go call up, be on that Herb Street deal and just get a private jet all the time.
You need a couple dogs to go along with it if we're following Herb Street's deal, though.
I don't think Kelly's a dog guy. I think he knows how to kick a few dogs at least anyways.
Maybe execute some of his players like he's talked about in the past.
Yes, definitely. All right. What has been your biggest storyline in college football? And I like to say I don't like to toot our own horn. We've been kind of right about Arch Manning so far this year, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, Arch is an easy place to start, but I feel like even as much as I thought he might struggle to adapt this season, it's been so pronounced that I don't even think I saw this coming to the level of struggles that he's had, right? Like, he's just at times not even looked like someone who's ready to play high school football, let alone Division I, SEC, top tier college football. So I think it's one thing where Arch was way overhyped because of his last name. There was nothing you could do to avoid that. Mm-hmm. But I also think there's a bit of problem with Texas and their coaching staff and how they've approached it, because there just seemed to be some mechanical things that weren't solved early on. And if the coaching staff saw a lot of that in training camp or, the off season for Texas and did nothing to fix it and waited until they were losing at Florida to maybe make some adjustments, like, I think that's pretty
bad coaching.
It is. It's a damning indictment on how they grew him. And if he sat for 2 years like he did, why does he look this unprepared to play in this offense? Like,
that's my big thing is, like, we expected him to be high flying running gun offense. It's gonna be the Sark offense of what we saw at USC, but we're not getting that at all anyways.
No, he's just looked timid. He's just looked like just completely unprepared. And it helps when you're Texas and you know how to win. You've won over the last couple of years. That's probably the only reason they aren't, they have SEC wins at this point, because the teams they've beaten are Kentucky and Mississippi State, who haven't won SEC games in over a year, and an Oklahoma team whose quarterback had a busted up thumb, and one that Sark has figured out how to beat. Otherwise, like, Texas, if they're going to, and their schedule toughens up, right? Like this weekend, they've got Vanderbilt. Then they're at Georgia. They'll have Texas, an undefeated top 3 in the country, Texas A&M, come to Austin at the end of the season. Like, the competition is about to stiffen up for them. And if they don't find a way to play better top to bottom, their SEC record is going to look a lot worse than it currently looks.
Would you be surprised if Arch Manning is going to – you think he's going to stay at Texas, or the boosters will find a way to get him out of Texas? You thinking he's going to hit the transfer portal?
I think they will bring in competition for him, real legitimate competition this offseason. I think Texas wants Arch to succeed, and they're still going to do everything in their power to help him do that. But when you're Texas and you bring in Sark and you have a roster as talented as they allegedly have top to bottom, you can't spend a season, if he struggles again, throwing him out there like that.
No.
I mean, we're seeing why he never challenged Quinn Ewers over the last couple of years.
No.
Right? If that's what was going on in practice, and now that's going on in the field, Quinn Ewers ran that offense very, very well, and he'll always get crap for it because he never took Texas to a national championship or just as far as the semi, right? But Ewers could run that offense, and Manning hasn't shown that he'll do that. And Arch wanted to play for Sark, so I think in that regard, he'll still want to stay at Texas so long as Sark is there, right? Although allegedly Sark is putting out NFL feelers, so
yes.
Who knows how long Sark could be at Texas? That would throw a massive monkey wrench in this coaching carousel that we'll get into in a little bit. But I think Arch will stay. I don't think the boosters want him out, but I do think they'll bring in legitimate competition, and he's not just going to be handed everything next year like he was this year.
Yeah, because I felt like they handed it to him. I was like, no, this kid needs to earn it at least. It was like, I know his last name is Manning.
Yeah,
but could we show that he's actually earned the job at least?
You would think that with the time he spent under Sark learning that he had done enough to earn it, and he just hasn't shown it yet.
I know it's ridiculous. And speaking of Sark, we'll jump into it. We'll stay with Texas football. I saw you taking feelers for the Titans job out of all jobs, which is a dumpster fire of all dumpster fires. Do you think he'll take that?
It's an open job. It's the only NFL open job right now, right?
For now, yeah.
And they say there's only 32 of them, and Sark has coached in the NFL, and it seems like a place he eventually wants to get back to. But it is odd to me that this popped up when it did, and Sark was so, he was so sure that this was a lie and that like he never put anything out there, right? Like after they beat Mississippi State, he took time out of his presser to talk about how it just wasn't true, which to me told me it was very true.
Oh, yeah.
You don't go out there and deny it like he did without there being some truth to it, like trying to protect yourself, trying to hide something, right? Because you look at Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, and he had gone through this before where he had been rumored for Auburn several years ago. And he didn't talk to his team about it, and that Ole Miss team fell apart. Well, this year he's rumored for Florida. He's probably going to be rumored for LSU and several other jobs that open up. He said before their game against Oklahoma that he's going to talk to his team about all those rumors, say, this isn't about you, this is about the team, and we need to stay together and continue to win because we got a chance to do something great. For Sark to go out there to talk to the media like that and talk down to them as he did, that just, one, I didn't think was the right way to handle it.
No.
And two, gave more credence to the idea of, I do think he wants to get back to the NFL. And with kind of things not going his way at Texas, would this be an easy time for him to jump off? Maybe so.
Yeah, definitely. If let's say this, we'll go in hypothetical and conspiracy world. If the Texas job opens up, LSU's job is open, Florida's job is open, Penn State job. Lane Kiffin's the number one candidate. Which one will he take? Would he stay at Ole Miss or would he go to Texas or LSU, you think?
I think he'll take the Ole Miss job, which is the one he already has. So this is something I've said on 105 Through the Fan a lot recently is Kiffin has spent 5 or 6 years at Ole Miss building the program into what it is today, which is a 7-1 team with a very good chance to go to the college football playoff and be competitive in the SEC this year and beyond. If he goes to Florida specifically, they're not there. And everything that Ole Miss is what Florida wants to be. So Kiffin would have to start over and build that all back to the top with higher expectations than he has at Ole Miss. And not that Ole Miss, the expectations are low. It's an SEC school. They're always going to be high. But Florida and LSU and Texas, the latter two especially, you have to play politics. You have to play with the boosters. You have to play with so many more voices than I feel like you have to play with at Ole Miss. And when you've got the same money at Ole Miss that you might have, at least comparable to what the other schools have, and you've already built something and you're already winning, why in the world would you want to leave that? So I think Kiffin's going to stay at Ole Miss, and then the others are just kind of going to be left trying to figure it out.
I know. I just think it's crazy. When you look at it, I was thinking, like, okay, LSU is like, we throw the Lane Kiffin rumor out there, and you saying like he may not leave Ole Miss. I'm just trying to figure out if he does leave, what if he goes? If he doesn't, that's going to ruin the free agency of college football coaches and stuff.
Yeah.
When you look at the jobs available, LSU's open, Penn State, Florida, Oklahoma State, Arkansas, Virginia Tech, just to name a few. What's the number one job you think? It's LSU than everybody else, would you say?
This is a great question, and it's something this Saturday on Fan University.
Check us out
9 to 1 this Saturday. on 105 Through the Fan. I'm going to pose this to Jake and Brennan, my co-hosts, and I want us to do a bit of a draft. So I want us to draft which job we would take first. And I've been going back and forth in my head because LSU should, in my mind, be the easy number one.
Yeah.
Because when you're LSU, players don't commit to your coach. They commit to LSU. Mm-hmm. Louisiana State University is so integral to the identity of that entire state. People stop what they're doing. The entire state stops down to watch LSU every Saturday. Like, it's not nearly the same for the Saints the next day. They are all LSU. So the whole state is in on it. But at this point, you're watching the governor of the state today say that he's not going to let their AD hire the next coach. LSU doesn't have a school president right now, which is why the governor's so involved. The board of, the board of trustees or the whatever board that's in charge of LSU right now is full of guys that the governor picked. So it's getting to the point where Texas was in recent years, where you're having to do so much more than just coach football. You're having to deal with so many other voices. And I think in my mind, that takes it down a peg. I look at Florida as one that's really interesting to me if I was a top tier coaching candidate, because they're in a similar spot that Miami was before they hired Mario Cristobal, where they were behind in NIL, they were behind in facilities, but they were ready to invest in them. And I think if you go to Florida and your school's ready to invest in you and the program, they're going to give you a blank check. And there doesn't seem to be nearly as much outside noise as there would be at LSU. Penn State, they're obviously championship or bust. Like, they don't need a program builder. They need someone who's going to come in and win big games, because James Franklin can never do that.
No.
So of the Big Ten and SEC jobs that are open, I personally think Florida's the most interesting.
Okay. I kind of thrown in the ACC, Virginia, Texas there. I'm waiting what's going on at Florida State, because I feel that they're going to blow Norvell out. That's the thing. Because that thing is how it's become a G5 program is, to me, is unacceptable to be A, Florida State, and B, also the ACC as well. Anyways, like, that team should be like going up against Miami, going up against Virginia Tech, who's also down too, and also going up against Clemson. And it's like, you should expect more from Florida State than just being a doormat anyways.
Yeah, they should win ACC games, which is something they haven't done in over a calendar year. Yes. And the weird thing is the last ACC team they beat was Cal.
I was about to say even Cal.
Not even like a standard, classic ACC school, right? And then you'd have to go even further back to 2023 when they went undefeated in the conference. It was like they sold their soul for that 2023 season, only to not make the playoff and then just completely fall apart over the next 2 years. And it seems like something where they're going to go at the end of the season and review everything. I don't expect Norvell to get fired midseason.
No,
because at this point, it's already a lost year. And I don't think you're going to bring somebody in and really turn things around, especially because I think they're already 0-4 in conference and they've lost to Stanford, right? Like, they're losing to not just to Miami or Clemson or, this year Virginia, the good ACC teams. They're losing to the bad ones too.
Yes.
So I do think that job will come open, and that would immediately jump up there with the best, jobs in the country. But post Jimbo at Florida State, Willie Taggart was an abject failure.
Yep.
And outside of, 1.5 seasons for Norvell, he's not been able to figure anything out there. And they've invested a lot of money into that program, especially last season. They put $12 million into their defense, and they went 1-8 or 1-7 in the ACC and 2-10 overall. So it's just weird that job has been so tough to figure out. But I think, whoever the new guy is, because I do think there will be a new guy, he's going to have his hands full.
Can I give you my name who I want to see get that job?
Please do.
Brian Kelly. Or
Man,
James Franklin. Or Franklin. One of those two.
Kelly's got to go back north. Like, I just don't think the South fits him whatsoever.
No, but I think it'll be funny at Florida State, though.
I mean, yeah, because you're a Miami guy, so you're here for.
No, I'm also going for competition-wise in recruiting, because he'll at least get some kids, and they at least be competitive anyways. James Franklin, he could probably rebuild that program as well also.
See, I look at James Franklin as like the perfect guy for Virginia Tech, because it's right down the road from Penn State. And Penn State, under his time there, dominated recruiting in the state of Virginia. And Virginia Tech, you always talk about them like they're a sleeping giant, right? They
Yeah.
had that one great year with Michael Vick in the late 90s, and you're like, oh, they could be this all the time, when they really never were, but they should be more competitive than they are.
Yeah.
If you have a guy like James Franklin to raise the floor, like their ceiling might be low, but their floor is going to be extremely high. They're never going to go worse than like 8-4,
No.
9-3, right? Like I think Virginia Tech would love to get back to that. And James Franklin is the kind of coach that can do that. So I think he's a perfect fit there at Virginia Tech. Now, will he take that job? Will they give him enough money? I don't know.
Will they give another Penn State guy the job, though, is a better thing, because they took Brett Pry, who was at Virginia, at Penn State, too, also.
Yeah, but Brett Pry never had any head coaching experience, and that definitely showed. With Franklin, you have proof of concept of what he is as a coach.
Yes.
And I think Virginia Tech would run to what Penn State is now, based on what they've been for, the past like 15 years.
Ever since Shane Beamer balls, but Frank Beamer's retired, it's been like nosedive. And also when Tyrod Taylor went to the NFL, it's like, what do we do here anyways, which is crazy.
Yeah. And Shane Beamer, I think, has purposely tanked his Virginia Tech stock.
Yes.
Because South Carolina's been awful this month. They didn't win a game in the month of October.
Yeah, that was my perfect joke. Like, get Shane Beamer back, bring him home. Anyways, and when you look at it now, it's like, well, now I see why he does not want to go home, at least anyways.
Yeah.
I think the big one, Florida is the big one. Would you say we can probably say, would you say Alex Gullish from USF? I think that's the nice hire, but I don't think it's going to happen.
I think Gullish, he'd be a great hire wherever he goes.
Yeah.
He's on that Heupel tree that I got to see them firsthand, South Florida.
Yes.
They played up here at North Texas about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and absolutely mollywopped, one of my favorite words. They mollywopped North Texas that night. And they run the fastest offense in the country. They snap the ball with 30 seconds left on the play clock. Like, that is how fast they go. So it's a really unique offense in terms of like its speed and some of the players they use. And I wonder how that would translate to the Power 4 level. But I just think Gullish is a great offensive mind, and you just need someone fresh. The problem at Florida, though, is that was what Billy Napier was before they hired him away. Billy Napier was that great offensive mind that came to Florida from a Group of 5 program in Louisiana. I don't remember if they were Louisiana or Louisiana Lafayette at that point. But anyway, Gullish is very similar to that. So I really wonder if Florida's going to want to tread down those same waters. Like, I wonder if they'll want someone with Power 4 coaching experience.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really interesting what they're going to choose anyways. It's like, do they want to go the Power 4 or go to the G5 category? But it all depends. And plus, Gullish's offensive reminds me of the old Chip Kelly Oregon offense almost.
Yeah, just super fast, and just you need athletes to run it. And Byron Brown, the South Florida quarterback, is absolutely an athlete. And let me tell you what, I think Arkansas is a sneaky spot for Gullish to end up, because his wife is from there. She is a nurse, so I know she goes back to Arkansas quite a bit. Arkansas could use someone with a bit of established success as a head coach.
Because they have fresh ideas too, also. Fresh ideas, not having Bobby Petrino there anyways.
I mean, it would be hilarious if they went with Petrino or Gruden, but yeah. I think if they wanted to make a smart hire, it would be Gullish.
I think the smart hire is who will take the Louisville, like if Coach Brom, the Louisville head coach, will he be called for any of these top jobs like LSU, Florida, Florida State? Do you think?
I mean, he should.
I think he should. I think his offense.
Look at the last 5 or 6 Louisville quarterbacks. It's dudes like right now it's Miller Moss. Last year it was Tyler Shuck, second round pick. The year before that it was, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name, but all these guys, Jack Plummer, all of these guys end up in the NFL because they run a pro style offense. And he's like, Jeff Brom is very, very good at running that pro style offense. He gets quarterbacks drafted. And that's why a lot of guys want to play for him. And that's ended with Louisville with maybe not the most resources or the most talent in the ACC, constantly beating top 10 teams, because you saw him beat Miami a couple weeks ago with freaking Miller Moss. And, when he was at Purdue, they beat a top 10 Ohio State team. They beat a top 2 Iowa team at one point. Brom has had nothing but success, and he's had it at the Power 4 level. But he is a Louisville guy. That's where he went to school. That's where he got his first coaching job. It's like Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State. That's his place. So would he leave that for more money? I don't know. If it was me, I would stay. but I'm also, incredibly loyal to my alma mater.
Yeah.
Other coaches might not look at it that way.
I just think Brian Brom is just when you put aside the XFL clip, which is my favorite, I think he just runs an offense and he produces quarterbacks, which I feel is underrated. It's needed in the NFL. Like then Malik Cunningham was there as well. Besides
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson, that place had like you think of Louisville quarterbacks. It's like Chris Redman and Johnny Unitas anyway. So
yeah, a little bit before Jeff Brom's time there.
Yeah, Jeff Brom, yes, but I just think I think he's one candidate you need to look out for. Like, would you hire him? I was like, yeah. Like,
Absolutely.
Hey, you run a pro style office. I want kids playing in the NFL. Come to University of Florida. Come to LSU. Come to Florida State. I think he's the number one hire that no one's talking about, anyways.
Yeah, and I know his name's come up for some of these jobs. Like the Florida one was the first one I saw him linked to, and at the time I wondered, I'm like, is his agent just trying to get him an extension? Because a lot of the time the agent will float their names out there for these bigger jobs, so their current school will give them more money. But I think if he ends up at Florida, I think that would be as good of a hire as I think they could make.
It'll be a perfect hire, and plus offensive mind, and plus, as I quote the great Shannon Crowder, Florida Gators legend and Miami Dolphins legend, Florida's always one with asshole head coaches. No pretty boys. Need an asshole, anyways.
That's true. So by that standard, Brian Kelly would be perfect there.
That is true, but I don't think he wants him there, anyways. All right. What's your favorite game this weekend for college football as we are in Halloween weekend? I like to say this is one of my favorite weekends of the college football class. Three things. Because you have great games, you have student sections always in Halloween costumes, and you have everything, and there's good parties after that, anyways. My favorite game of the weekend that's non-Miami SMU is the Florida-Georgia game. I've been to that game once in my lifetime. I had the most fun there, even though I saw Anthony Richardson ball out in the third quarter. But after that, it was a Georgia beatdown anyways. What's your favorite game of the weekend, would you say?
That sounds like most Anthony Richardson games during his time at Florida. And just quick sidebar, I remember watching him because he had one season as a starter in college, and I was like, this dude is 2 years away from being 2 years away. I never understood the hype. And Florida's game against Florida State that same season, it was like the perfect Anthony Richardson game because first drive of the game, he's like 5 of 5. There's a beautiful touchdown pass to Ricky Pearsall. For the rest of the game, he's like 4 of 18. And he was awful. And it was like, the traits are there, but he's never been able to put it together at the at any level, let alone SEC, and you're going to go play in the pros. Like that never made sense to me, and I was right on that one. So I
blew my mind anyways. I looked at this kid and I was talking to someone like, this guy ain't it. This guy is just college and that is it. I don't know how he got highly drafted in the NFL. I still look at, say, there's some quarterbacks you really need to be looked at, and that was one of we need double eyes look because I said this is my view on a few places. Florida and Ohio State, you could never trust a quarterback drafted them in the NFL. I still live by that quote, but to this day, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, CJ Stroud's trying to prove us wrong. And he hasn't been, but he even in his second and third years, he hasn't been as good as he was in his first season, right? Like he's still had struggles there, and just on the Ohio State front, it's like Julian Sayin, their quarterback's been awesome this year, but nobody talks about him. No. And nobody talks about Ohio State, period. They've been number one since after week 1 because they're so damn boring. They're so uninteresting. They might have like 4 of the top 5 players in college football, Jeremiah Smith, Arvell Reese, like top to bottom. It's a team that looks like they could definitely repeat this year, but they're so boring. They're just not fun to watch. So nobody wants to talk about them. Like it's more about Indiana and Texas A&M and Ole Miss and some of the other schools, but Ohio State is still sitting there at number 1. And Ohio State plays Penn State this week. And who would have thought 2 months ago that this would have been just a forgettable big noon kickoff? Like nobody cares. I picked Penn State to win the national championship this year, and I picked them to beat LSU in the title game. So both of the schools that I put in the national championship fired their head coaches before November. So that's about where my preseason picks are.
Hey, I feel you on that. Anyways, for real. It's like me. I was like, oh, Arizona State's going to win the Big 12. They ain't going to win the Big 12, unfortunately.
No, they're just too hurt. And they just haven't been able to capture that magic like they had, for a lot of last season. But games this weekend, I know you mentioned Miami and SMU. I would have been more interested in if SMU didn't just, crap the bed against Wake Forest last week.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first time SMU had lost an ACC game.
I know.
Which is kind of wild that it had been that long. I was hoping they would keep that streak up until at least Miami. But, just elsewhere, locally, we have UNT. They're hosting Navy. That's a 7-1 UNT team that, like we talked about earlier, they lost to South Florida, but they only got one conference loss. Navy's undefeated.
Yeah.
This is another big test for UNT to really kind of separate themselves in this group of 5 race and potentially just keep pace with like the Memphises, the South Floridas, the Tulanes of the world, because that's another 11 a.m. kick. There's actually several games at 11 a.m. that I think are fascinating because
Texas and Vanderbilt too.
Yeah. There's a top 10 matchup where Arch might not even play. Like he practiced today, but he's still in concussion protocol. So we're not sure on his availability yet. And if he does play, it's weird to say, but Vanderbilt's probably the best defense that, maybe I'm biased. I do think OU still has a very good defense, and they held Texas to 16 points. But when you can't score a touchdown yourself, you're never going to win a game like that. But still, probably at least the second or third best defense they faced in the SEC this year in Vanderbilt. And they got that game at home, but Vandy just looks like they look like an SEC team, which is something like you've never been able to say that before. They look like they can match up with all these guys. And if Arch is out or if he's in, we talked about the Texas offense not looking, not clicking like it did in the last couple of years. Vanderbilt's the kind of team that can take advantage of that. I mean, they're pretty balanced on offense and defense. So, and if Vanderbilt wants to, if they want to continue this, wild, playoff chase that they're in, which I never thought I'd say that, but
we would never say that about Vandy, maybe.
No, it's absolutely the truth.
Unless it's baseball, anyways. That's what we always say.
Maybe basketball, like once in a blue moon, but never in football. I mean, they haven't been ranked in the top 10 since Harry Truman was president in the late 1940s. Like it's been 70 plus years since they've done something like this. But you brought up off air, you brought it up here, the Florida-Georgia game.
Yes.
Georgia they're not quite the Georgia where they just out-talent you like they have been in the past. And their schedule is a lot more balanced now that they're not just playing a lot of SEC East teams that were never able to get their S together at the same time as Georgia. They play more teams from the old SEC West plus OU and Texas thrown in the mix. But, they just grind you to dust now. They just beat you down. They just wear you out, and they can outlast you. And that makes them dangerous. But this is going to be their first game without Billy Napier. Yeah. And you have no idea what to expect from them.
I think that's what I'm excited about, because the fired coach bump, and if Florida could upset Georgia, be the most entertaining thing of the weekend. Anyways, everyone in the top 10 would lose already.
I wish that the Gator Bowl still existed, because it just sucks that game is played in the lifeless husk that is the Jacksonville Jaguars Stadium. And I know in years to come, it'll be played at different sites because the Jag Stadium is going to go under some renovations. But something about playing a game like that in an NFL stadium just really takes some of the magic away. And I'm biased because OU Texas is at the Cotton Bowl, which nobody else plays there regularly. Like literally, there's a couple of HBCU games there around the same time, but it really feels like it's built for OU Texas, like right there at the State Fair. But I mean, it'll be fascinating to see, what adjustments has Florida made. And they still have DJ Lagway at quarterback, who we all thought was going to be a lot better this year. Who knows? Maybe get rid of the coach, have a week to prepare for Georgia. I'm not sure what we're going to expect, but I do think that one could be more interesting than maybe we would have thought a couple weeks ago.
We have the classic holy war between Boston College and Notre Dame. I don't know if you've ever watched those games. They're very boring, so we can see
that's not holy war. You know what the real holy war is, right?
It's BYU Utah anyways.
Yes, and which is the best rivalry name in college football. Nobody can tell me different. Like, I love Bedlam. I love the Iron Bowl. I love clean old-fashioned hate Georgia Tech. But holy war, you throw war into the title of something, it just makes it that much more intense. And when it's a holy war, like a damn crusade, like I'm here for that. And that game's usually really entertaining. And this year it was a couple weeks ago.
I always say this. I think I was producing the Miami Hurricane game, I had the Saturday off. Like, days bleed together now during college football producing games. I think I was watching that. I was like, that place looks lit. And I'm proud. And plus, our friend of the program, who's a part of the Monday show, Jake Reitman, was at BYU West Virginia. He told me it was the most funnest game he's ever been to, anyway, which was
Yeah,
wild.
and I've been to Lavelle Edwards out in Provo.
Mhm.
OU played there several years ago, and my friend and I went. And that outside of OU, that's one of my favorite stadiums I've ever been to. Is
Okay.
the views with the mountains in the background is so unique, and they're like the nicest fans there. But you can just tell like they're nice, but in like a we're gonna beat you down kind of way on the field. And OU ended up winning that game that I went to, but it is an awesome stadium. Anybody listening, and Trevor, you too, if you ever get the chance to go out to Utah to Lavelle Edwards, and Rice Eccles looks awesome too. I'd love to get out there someday, but
Yeah.
Lavelle Edwards, very, very cool stadium.
I will say this. You were at a game that I've always wanted to go to, USC Notre Dame. And I really hate how Lincoln Riley's playing the soft card, as I quote the great Petros Papadakis, how he want to get Notre Dame off the schedule. I'm glad you went to that rivalry game because I feel that rivalry game is about to be put the dust, and I'm going to be very mad at USC for that, by the way.
Yeah, and it's driven by USC. We saw something similar here for me locally with TCU, SMU. TCU wanted less Power 4 out of conference teams, and it always used to be beneficial to TCU because SMU was at the Group of 5 level. They were in Conference USA or they were in the American, so it was always TCU was playing a allegedly lower level team. Now that they're equal, SMU's joined the party, and over the last couple of years, they've kind of outplayed TCU just in terms of record and competition. But that's gone away because TCU doesn't want more out of conference power opponents, which it just sucks. And USC is doing the same thing where it's like, Big Ten has a 9-game conference schedule.
Yeah.
And so you throw Notre Dame on top of that, and that's 10 power opponents. And I'm not a coach. I never have been, probably never will be.
We're just
but if I was
armchair
a coach,
coaches.
armchair coach here on the Upper Bowl podcast. But
yeah,
if I'm a coach, I want to play my rivals and I want to beat them.
Yeah.
Like, if I want to be the best, I got to beat the best. And outside of his first year at USC, Lincoln hasn't done that. He's lost 3 in a row to Notre Dame, including both road games that SC's played there. And it's just things where I guess Lincoln wants to lose more road games to Big Ten opponents. He doesn't want to throw another out-of-conference game in there, because Lincoln hasn't proved since he's been at USC that they can go on the road to, the Central Time Zone or the Eastern Time Zone and beat those teams. Like earlier this year, he lost to Illinois, who's unranked right now on the road. They've got Nebraska this week, and USC is like a touchdown favorite. I don't know why. I think Nebraska, that's pretty easy money right there. Is to
Matt Rule, how you doing?
To win outright. And that's not because I'm a Matt Rule believer. I'm really not. I think he's got a cap as a head coach. I just believe in Lincoln and USC on the road less. And even last year, USC loses to Maryland on the road. They lose to Minnesota. I feel like they lost at least one more of those games on the road where they're clearly the more talented team and they just don't play like it. And, Papadakis said soft. I think that's a perfect word for it.
Yes. Shout out to Petros anyways. Hopefully one day guest on this show. I think the other good game is Oklahoma, Tennessee. I
mean, you see my Oklahoma sweater that I have on.
I left you guys for last, the best for last. Anyways, you guys are the main event. That's probably the one game I'm going to probably pay attention to anyways.
Yeah, and Tennessee is going to be wearing their like Halloween black and orange uniforms.
Outrage.
But with the white gloves, so they can get away with holding and pass interference. That's the rumor that's going around, because you think if you're gonna do a blackout, you want black gloves to go along with your black, jersey and pants and helmet. But they're still wearing white gloves, because OU is going to wear their road whites. So I guess the white gloves will blend in a little bit, which is the hot rumor going around.
Is there a bet between you and RJ for the Tennessee Oklahoma game? I got to ask you if you guys thought about that yet.
I can't do that. I will happily give if they win, I'm here for RJ to give him bragging rights, and the way OU's played offense ever since John Mateer came back, it's hard for me to believe they're going to score enough on the road to win this game. But I'm not wearing Tennessee gear. I'll never make a bet with a Texas fan, with whoever, unless it's my future wife and she went there. And even still, if she went to Texas, I feel like I might have gone insane. The fact that I ended up marrying a Texas gal instead of someone from somewhere else. But no bets. It'll just be a nice little gentleman's agreement to acknowledge the winner.
There we go. I like that at least, anyways. So, I think that game's entertaining. I've enjoyed watching Oklahoma and Tennessee because of John Mateer, anyways. I was bummed that I felt like that you guys rushed him back way too quick for Oklahoma, Texas, anyways. And this will now lead in. Who's your Heisman candidate right now? Is it Trice Simpson of Alabama? Would you say, or someone completely different?
Man, it's really interesting because it's almost November, and I
Yeah.
don't feel like there's a clear front runner.
No,
Like,
that's our
I
problem. We
seriously
gotta
don't.
find one at least.
It's like Ty Simpson is there by default because he's been the best quarterback in the country. But we mentioned earlier, Julian Saint at Ohio State has also been awesome, and we
Yeah.
just don't talk about him.
No,
You've got
Carson
big
Beck
like
in it.
Carson Beck was it for a while, and then he goes and throws 4 picks against Louisville, and I'm like, well, crap. Like, he was my front runner for a long time because no one had the resume that Miami had. But then they lose to Louisville, and then South Florida drops a game to Memphis this last weekend, and they just don't they just don't have quite the shine that I thought they did. Because I seriously thought Miami might be the best team in the country. Then they go lay that egg against Louisville, and I'm like, okay, well,
I had a weird feeling going in that Louisville game because I was producing and I was also cutting highlights. Like, I don't know. I don't like this Friday night game. I feel something weird. I don't trust it. And it was in my gut. I was like, I think they're going to lose this game. And I'm like, I'm not going to get mad about it.
It's the second time this season that a top 10 team from the state of Florida lost on Friday night, which that's not that many times, but it's still weird that it's happened twice.
I think as I quote Joe Zagacki, the ACC should not be doing Friday night games. The Big Ten don't do it. The SEC don't do it, or the Big 12. Miami is one of the big boys. So I'll treat them like the big boys and let them play on Saturday night, anyways. So,
well, when OU was in the Big 12, and same with Texas, OU would always get shoved with the 11 a.m. game. And you would think their big team should be saved for the afternoon or the night slot, but the conference hated both of those schools, so they did everything in their power to not let them, have that. And it's funny that Miami wasn't even one of the teams that sued the ACC. That was Florida State, and that was Clemson. And Florida State did have the Friday night game. They lost to Virginia, but yeah, you would think they would put more of their teams on the Saturday slate. But look, they need inventory and they need eyes. And it's a damn shame that Georgia Tech hasn't gotten one of these Friday night games. Like, they've been the best story in the ACC outside of Virginia all season long. They don't play another ranked team up until Georgia, so they should. And Haynes King, if you want to talk about a Heisman candidate, I think Haynes King has been a great under the radar guy. This is his 3rd year at Georgia Tech, which is wild to think. He's already been there that long, but he's been fantastic the entire season that he's been there. Georgia Tech's off to an undefeated start. Elsewhere, you could look at Diego Pavia at Vanderbilt. He's helping them do things they've never done. Fernando Mendoza at Indiana, who we barely mentioned. I know.
I'm like, I want to get Oklahoma talking. Now we can get some Fernando Mendoza with Indiana. I think Kurt Signetti is the most entertaining thing in college football right now.
100%. And I'm glad he's staying.
I'm
glad Indiana acted fast. And it helps that Kurt's in his mid-60s. He's not looking to jump around. And it's kind of the same thing with Lane Kiffin, where he's built this amazing thing really, really fast. And the school and him both decided, let's keep it going. Like, we're not going to entertain these overtures from Penn State. I'm sure Florida would be interested too, LSU, any of the bigger jobs that might open up. But in this day and age where, like, if Kurt Signetti's there 5 more years and then he retires, they're building him a statue.
Oh, yeah.
So why would you leave that? And of course, they're paying him, a king's ransom. He's the 3rd highest paid coach in college football now, and deservedly so, because he's doing things at Indiana that have literally never been done before. So
they pivoted from a basketball
there.
school to a football school anyways.
Totally. Like, and I was not a believer in Indiana up until they blew out Illinois. And I'm like, okay, no, Indiana's legit yet again. And there's no reason to ever pick against them. But if you want my guy, who I would give the award to, the Heisman Award to right now, it's another school that we haven't really talked about. And it's just really odd that, they're a school with a lot of traditions that seem really, really weird when you lose a lot of games. But when you're undefeated and you're 8-0, you can yell and you can whoop and you walk on the grass all you want, because that's Texas A&M. And Marcel Reed has been a star. And there was so much talk on Fan University between me and my co-host, which Brendan Baxter went to Texas Tech. So he just doesn't like Texas A&M to begin with. I get that. My parents went to A&M. That's where they met. So I have a bit of a soft spot for him, and I'll usually watch their games. But the talk was, can Marcel Reed be the passer that he wasn't last season? Because they won a lot of games with him last year. The games that they won ended up being with him using his legs. And can he be a passer? Well, they go out and get two of the best receivers in the portal, Casey Concepcion and Mario Craver, who are both studs. But Reed is putting the balls where they need to go. He's throwing them perfectly. And I know he had 2 picks against LSU in this last game, but they didn't panic.
Fine.
They let LSU hang around for a little bit, and then in the third quarter just imposed their will. And Marcel Reed was able to do pretty much anything he wanted. And I think to have a place like Texas A&M where the joke is just they're going to go 8-4. Yeah. And if they're to do that this year, they have to lose out. That's something I never thought I'd say. And you look at the rest of their schedule, it's a Missouri team on the road who just lost their starting quarterback for at least a month. It's South Carolina at home, who hasn't won a game since September.
Yep.
It's Samford, an FCS team. You would expect A&M to roll. And then it's at Texas, which Texas doesn't look like the Texas team from last year. No. And these teams have seemingly switched roles. And that's A&M this year has really done a lot to get monkeys off of their back, like beating LSU on the road, you know, having some consistency, getting a big win in a non-conference game like they did at Notre Dame earlier this year. The Texas one would be the icing on the cake to the season. And if A&M goes 12-0, ends up playing for an SEC title, something they'd never done before.
No,
I think that would vault Marcel Reed above Mendoza, above Simpson. And if Alabama keeps winning and it's Simpson versus Reed in the SEC title game.
Oh, that's a great game.
That could be for the Heisman because it goes up and through the championship weekend. And to a lesser degree, if those teams fall off, you could look at Mendoza versus Julian Sayin in a Big Ten title game as a potential Heisman face-off. But if I'm looking at it right now, I'm so impressed with Marcel Reed and everything that they've done that he's my pick right now. So A&M doesn't play this weekend, so I can't jinx him just yet. But, next game they play, he's probably going to throw 3 picks and have a down game. But right now, it's Marcel Reed.
As they play Texas A&M next week, they play at Missouri.
They're at Mizzou, yeah.
At the Zoo of Missouri, a 3:30 game on ABC. Who would have thought that? All right, Carter, it's always great talking college football with you. Let's do this for championship weekend, and we'll have some fun, and we'll lead into bowl games at least.
Absolutely, man. Whenever you need me. I mean,
awesome.
If I'm not, writing for Musings on Music, that's cfreeman.substack.com. I'm usually thinking about college football, and it's a lot better for me to talk to somebody about it than just talk to myself about it. So whenever you need me, you just let me know.
How much fun is, before we leave, how much fun was Turnstile, by the way?
Turnstile was phenomenal. The Never Enough is their album that came out this June, and it's really just cements, to me, it cemented them as one of the most, compelling rock acts of today, because they start as a hardcore band, but they do so much melodic stuff. They do a little bit of alt rock, a little bit of, synthesizer work in there. And they do it with such confidence that 100% translated to their live show. I mean, it's Brendan Yates barely said anything up on stage, but he's, in between songs, but they say everything they need to with their music. And it's just so loud. It's so compelling. And they do it with such confidence that I really, in today's day and age where there's not a lot of bands, there's a lot of artists, right? Like there's singular artists that really capture people's attentions. We need somebody like Turnstile to really do what they're doing. And, ever since Glow On in 2021, I've been a huge fan. And that show was totally phenomenal.
I saw them open up for Blink-182 back in 2023. I was hooked immediately. So that's all.
It's good stuff. Everyone, go listen to Turnstile.
Go listen to Turnstile. Go subscribe to Carter Freeman's Substack, please. He really does appreciate it. By the way, he needs those views. He needs those clicks. And check out his playlist at least. I'll say that for sure. Thank you as always. We'll talk to you next time.
Yep. See you soon.